Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And it's time for another gaming vlog. Let's get to it. Okay, so what we're going to do with this gaming vlog is we're going to talk about the first edition AD&D game that's going on back there. We're going to talk, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing video game-wise. But if you've been following these gaming vlogs, you know that in addition to the D&D game, I also am part of a Pathfinder group. Since our last vlog, we were going to play, they did play, but I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't partake in the last Pathfinder session. So this particular episode, we'll just talk about D&D. So, where we left off last time with my campaign back here was that our heroes, our adventurers, had made it to Devers, had started training at the local training halls and exploring the city of Devers and all that, while the female dwarf who had to travel to her hometown to retrieve the note of her fallen family member, who was also an adventurer, who he and his group had found an item that had kind of started off the chain of events that has caused them, our current group, to get captured and taken prisoner and subsequently escape from the island where they were shipwrecked, and now they're in Devers. And so she had to go get that note to kind of solve the riddle as to why they were put in this predicament. So she did that. She came back, met up with the rest of the group. They introduced her to, because the rest of them had all done their training and had attained level 1, because they had all started out as 0 level characters. The rest of them had all done their training and become level 1. She had not done that yet, so they introduced her to the local fighting, because she is her class is she's a fighter. They had introduced her to Drac. Drac is the NPC who's in charge of the training hall for fighter types in the city of Devers, and he happens to be a dwarf as well. And he is it's unusual because he keeps a very short cropped beard, unlike most dwarves who have the full, illustrious beard going, because they consider it that's part of their pride or whatever. And because he is so focused on fighting technique and prowess and everything, he doesn't like having that to where an enemy could grab it and use it against him. So he keeps his beard actually pretty shortly cropped. So they introduce her, our female dwarf, who is her character's name is Jamie. They introduce Jamie to Drac, and Drac is smitten from the get-go because, number one, very few dwarves enter his domain there at the training hall to begin with. Number two, he's never had the opportunity to train a female dwarf as a fighter. And our Jamie is quite the looker as far as dwarves goes. She also has, most female dwarves, a lot of them at least, have facial hair in the world of Greyhawk, and she does not. She has never grown any facial hair, so it's very unusual and unique. And Drac actually takes to that quite nicely. He likes the fact that she does not have any facial hair, so he is smitten and decides to train her for free, etc., to get her caught up with the rest of the group. And so they do that, and then they end up, so she's got the note now. They end up getting back to the Bloody Scabbard, which is the famous tavern in town. And Dorian Lightfoot, who is the guild master for the Thieves Guild, who has already interacted with our group, is in the tavern, as he is most nights. And they start up a conversation to which Dorian quickly puts a stop to it because he does not want to talk out in front of anybody. And lo and behold, of course, the previous group who I DM'd 20 years ago, the Seekers, had built on to the Bloody Scabbard as kind of a thank you to Oak, the owner, and including a private room that they have access to, including Dorian Lightfoot, for just these types of situations where they want privacy. So Dorian takes them into this private room, and they have a powwow, and that's where the note is revealed. And this is the note here. That's what I did. That's how I did it. I need to turn on my monitor here real quick so I can see how it looks in frame. But yeah, that's it right there. And I found this parchment at Hobby Lobby. Found a stack of it there. I forget how much it was. And then I just used some wax for sealing to seal the envelope. And these little skull and crossbones, that's actually kind of like pewter. They had a package of those there for whatever reason. I don't know what people, I guess arts and crafts or whatever, but I thought they were pretty cool, so I used one of those in the ceiling to kind of make it look ominous. And I worked that in additionally, whereas we have an assassin who's part of our group. He's actually playing an assassin illusionist, a dual class assassin illusionist. And he had to carry out his first assassination to reach first level to pass his training, and he did that. And what I did was every time he does a successful assassination, he gets one of these little skull and crossbone deals here. So the idea is that similar to how in World War II and World War I, when you had fighter pilots and they would stamp on the side of their plane whenever they had a confirmed kill, that was the idea I was going with the skull and crossbones. So what the player does with those as he collects them, I don't know. He could say that he on his tunic he has them embroidered or attached somehow, riveted to his tunic or something to show. Who knows what he's going to be. It's his choice, however he wants to play that. But I thought it was a neat little flavor thing for the campaign. So anyway, in the note, it basically says that the dwarf's family member, he was part of a previous adventuring group who was going to Hamlet, the town of Hamlet, to investigate some rumors that the evil cult followers, whatever, that had previously inhabited the Temple of Elemental Evil had returned. And so their group head off, and they got into some situation where they came in possession of a particular item, which he does not name in the note because he knows from legend that it's very bad news. But he also knows that in the right hands, it could be worth a lot of gold. So he basically tells her in the note that if you're reading this, it means that I'm already dead, because he gave her strict instructions to only open this if you know that I've met my demise. So he basically says it's up to her to find out, number one, does she want to try and find someone to get it to claim the gold? And number two, he warns her that it could be also dangerous. And so Dorian, when they give this to Dorian Lightfoot, he puts two and two together, and he pretty much knows what this means. Even though the item's not named, he has a pretty good idea, and he knows that it is indeed bad news for. And he also does know that it's worth money in the right hands. So he basically tells our group that his suggestion is you guys continue acting as if you don't even mention this to anybody, act like you don't know anything about it, and continue on your way doing whatever it is you're going to do, whether that's adventuring and so forth. And our group decides that they're going to go to Hamlet to investigate the rumors as well, and allow Dorian to as he put it, get in touch with the right people and ask some questions and so forth. In our today's vernacular, it basically would be him saying, let me make some phone calls, But in their parlance of that day, he basically says, I need to make contact with some people, the right people, and see how we proceed with this. In addition to that, we have Randar, who is one of the old PCs from my previous group that I had DM'd years ago, who had killed a party member back in that campaign, and now we know that the brother of that person has come back to seek revenge. That plot line is going as well, and so the group decides that they're going to go to Hamlet. They're going to rest up overnight and head out next morning, and that's what they do. They head to Hamlet and leave the rest of this behind and let Dorian kind of see what needs to take place. And so they decide to go to Hamlet, and they take off the next day. They have a couple of encounters along the way, and they make it to Hamlet. And then after reaching Hamlet, they start investigating about the rumors and so forth. They meet a lot of different NPCs. If any of you are familiar with the Village of Hamlet module, you would know all this. But they start making connections in the city and talking to people and so forth, and they decide that they're going to head out to the Moat House, which they do the next day. But while they're in the tavern the night before, they meet the different NPCs of the Inn of the Welcome Wench, which is the tavern in Hamlet. And of course, I threw in one of the barmaids. Her name, I believe, is Joanne or Jolene. I can't, one of the two, in the module, and I just threw in a little bit of extra flavor and basically said that she was quite voluptuous and wore a bustier and the whole bit to try and use her sexuality to help get her better tips, etc. And part of that is that she tells our group that the locals, all the guys, the local guys, her name is Joanne or whatever, but the locals like to call her Muffins. And I kind of threw that in for some additional flavor and let them have some fun with that as well. So they did the standard adventures and so forth, interactions in Hamlet and so forth, and headed out the next day to the Moat House. Going to the Moat House, when they got to the Moat House, of course, our druid of the group decided all 3 hit points of him, decided it would be smart to go over to the water, kind of by himself at one point. And of course, he was quickly attacked by 6 giant frogs that jumped out of the water at him, trying to consume him. And the battle was on. And I can't remember if it was him or somebody was poisoned. And luckily, our buddy Randar, the one who is worried about a hit being put out on him because of the brother that showed up seeking revenge, Randar had decided to follow them to Hamlet, and he joined them on the way to the Moat House. And luckily for our group, because he worked at the magic shop there, he was like the second in command at the magic shop. He has a whole satchel full of different kinds of potions and stuff that he brought with him, because that's one of the things he does. He mixes potions and stuff while he's there. And he happened to have a neutralized poison potion with him and saved the life of, I can't remember which character it was that got poisoned. But then they head in and they promptly get attacked. They fight a giant snake. I mean, these are all first level characters, so you can imagine that if you don't already know the module, that they're very introductory type battles and so forth. Giant snakes, giant frogs, that type of thing. Some bats, a giant spider at some point. So right now they're going through the Moat House. That's basically where we left off after the last session. So that's where we're at. We've got the plot line for Randar. We've got the plot line for the note and the item that it references that Dorian Lightfoot is currently investigating. And then, of course, we have the moat house that they're in. So we have that they're tackling right now. And that's kind of where we're at on that, on the first edition campaign. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the video game wise, what I've been doing. I kind of, because as you know, I was not feeling well that Saturday following our last session, and so I didn't go and play Pathfinder. We normally play it here, but I had to cancel, and because I believed that I was starting to get an ulcer, and it's feeling better now, but I was not that particular Saturday. My stomach was killing me, and so I ended up binge watching some shows and stuff like that. But the next day, on Sunday, I started feeling better, and for whatever reason, I don't even know why, but I got hooked again on Fallout 4. I don't even know why I started. I think I read something or something, and it triggered and said, about Fallout 4, and I realized that I'd only done one of the available outcomes, because you have to choose the Railroad, the Brotherhoods of Steel, the Institute, the Minutemen, or whatever. And the last one I chose to go the Railroad route, and so I decided, well, I want to try a different outcome. I want to see if I go with a different group, a different faction, how it goes. So I started up again. Of course, I got hooked. And now with this playthrough, I'm going the Institute route. I'm going to join the Institute and see if I stay with that faction, exactly how the story will go, how the plot will go. Excuse me. And so that's where I'm at on that. I don't know how many of you have played through multiple outcomes in that game with the different factions and so forth, but I thought it was worth doing it because I love the game of doing a second faction. So anyway, that's this gaming vlog. A lot to update you on the D&D front and Fallout 4, and that's it. We will catch you guys on the flip side.